Well, number one is the company that I'm working for, Crestline Hotels. I've worked with them in the past, and I believe in them. And solid company. I like their direction. I like their philosophy. The hotel itself, it's in Blacksburg, Virginia, and it's got the mountains. And it's actually a stepping stone for me and my family to eventually ride off into the mountains and just retire there. So Atlanta was getting too crowded, and I just it was just too much going on there for us, and we needed some peace and quiet, and it was a great opportunity. The thing that I liked about the inn is it's not one of the biggest hotels I've worked at. It's actually probably one of the smallest hotels I've worked at, but it's busy, and it's busy with the clientele is most of our clientele is coming out of Virginia Tech, which is a great university, working side by side with them. But when I was doing task force up here last year, it was the staff. The staff here, and I've been in 14, 15 different hotels I've worked in my career. The staff here never says no. And in a time and in an era nowadays, it really was something that I wanted to look to and join this team because when I was up here in task force, they never ever said no. They always wanted to learn. They always wanted to go to the extra distance. They always wanted to try something new. And I really find that as a fresh breath of air. My signature style is that I honestly believe in this industry, especially in the food and beverage industry, I want to try everything. And I'd rather strike out trying than strike out looking. And that's what I instill into the people underneath me. I'm a you hear people who say they're hands-on. Yeah, when it comes to it, I'm hands-on because I want to be part of it. I want to be part of the excitement, but I want to try to do different things and push the boundaries, especially in food and beverage. And you can see it moving year over year. It gets creative, it gets more creative in the way it's rolling and the way it's going. I don't want to be one of those places that we're always following someone. Let's start the trend. I used to be an executive chef with Marriott for a long time, and everyone asked me that. What is your favorite cuisine to cook and or eat and everything like that? I just like good food. And people say that, and it's no. It depends on what I'm in the mood for that day. But cooking a hamburger, cook it the best hamburger you ever can make. If you're gonna eat cook pasta, let's cook it the right way and the correct way. I do like Italian food. I do cook in Italian food because I opened up a resort that we had an authentic Italian restaurant when I was the executive chef, and I worked with a food and beverage director that he was right off the boat from Italy, and we made everything from scratch, and I fell in love with that. I do love cooking Italian food, but when it comes to cuisine, I don't if it's going to be an egg, make it the best egg. Cook it perfect. It depends on what they have, but just about, I mean, you name it. I wouldn't be afraid. If you want me to make bread, I'll make bread right then and there. It doesn't, if you want a steak, we'll get a steak. If you want wings, maybe we do duck confit wings or something like that. Depends on what's going in there. If you want pasta, we can whip up pasta. I the guy kind of guy that likes walking through the kitchen and opening up the refrigerators and seeing what goes on there. And my mind does run wild and look at things. The executive chef we have here is a really good guy, and I like working with him and the creativity that we come up with. It wouldn't take me much to come up with a dish, depending on what you got in your refrigerators. That's Cooking's the easy part for me. That's I always gravitated towards that. I love wine and I love craft beers. I love Cabernets. I love Malbecs. Joseph Phelps Insignia would be probably my go-to wine if I could get it. I'm not a big spirit drinker. It doesn't mean that I won't drink spirits, but my go-to is wine or craft beer. I've been on Tom Cruise's plane. I've cooked for him twice. And that when he was filming Mission Impossible, the first couple of sequels, Marco Island, when I worked at Marco Island, I saw a lot of people coming through that hotel that you name it. Phil Necro, the Love Boat cast, Gotti. It was I just sit there and start naming them off. There was a lot of people. I've been in Lincoln Kennedy's house. He was a football player. I've cooked for him one-on-one. I would say, boy, Augusta would have some good ones because you just never know who is in that hotel. And I don't want to, I don't want to say names because I don't want one of these guys to say, "Hey, wait a minute, what's this guy doing?" And that. But I've had some celebrities in Augusta that will say the golf course attracts a lot of people, Augusta. And there's some sports athletes that would come to the hotel and they have to go to the back dock up the service elevator because they're popular. People would know that. And they hide. But then there's a day when two individuals walk through the front door and they pull up in a black Cadillac SUV. And some people get out and then they get out and they walk through the two front doors up the grand staircase into a meeting room and that. And let's just put it this way. They're probably at that time 3 and 4 on the wealthiest people in the world. And no one knew who they were. No one paid attention. A celebrity like a sports figure or a musician, they always have to go to the back dock up the service elevators. But then I thought it was weird. The two people that are in the top 5 wealthiest people walk through the door and no one really is jumping out. So I thought that was weird. There was one time that this guy came into the lounge and I just was looking at him and it's like, this guy's out of the 60s. He's a musician. He's got to be someone. And on the other side of the bar was this young lady. I would say she's in her 20s. She was a pilot for a CEO that happens to be a member of the course. So we get a lot of the pilots for these individuals that fly their own private jets that stay there. And they struck up a conversation. They were talking all night and everything like that. And then we were closing down, and the pilot assistants, the assistant pilot, what you would co-pilot, was an older guy. I would say he was probably in his late 40s, asked me, "Hey, do you have a piano?" And I'm like, ooh, late at night, and it's in the lobby, and I'm thinking, here we go, and like that. Where's this going to go to? And the guy, he comes over and he goes, Jennifer was her name, bet this guy that she could play the piano better than him. And I'm like, okay, but this musician guy, kind of guy looks very familiar. And he goes, yeah, that's John. I'll say Jonathan Cain. And I'm not sure if you know who he is. He's the pianist for Journey. And she said she could play the piano better. And he gets up there and I said, sure, let's go for this. So he starts playing the piano and she's trying to stop him to tell him how to play the song. And the co-pilot goes, the guy wrote the song. And she had no idea who he was or who Journey was. And there's many times that I'd be walking to that restaurant on any given day. And as I'm touching tables, talking to guests and everything like that, you take a double look. And yeah, there's someone. It's okay. It's just one of those fascinating things that if you want to talk celebrities and personalities in the world, yeah, I saw a lot of it at Augusta. I saw a lot of it at Marco Island. I have to find out, okay, what meal period is it and what's their agenda and stuff like that. I have to do a look at it. But my approach would be is to do something that they wouldn't expect us to do. And it's funny because we have one of these Thursday morning. The president of the university and some of his closest colleagues will be over for a meeting. So we call it a VIP. I say breakfast, coffee breaks going on in one of the rooms. So I would say the presentation. I would look, how can we take this presentation to the next level? What can we do so when they go in there and say, wow, I can't believe they would actually do something like that, or take it, or is the presentation, is the food, is it perfect? Is it diced, sliced, or put together? Does it make sense? Does it look like I don't want to eat it a moment? So that's what we'll be working on with Chef. I believe 100% presentation is everything on what you're doing. Would we make sandwiches right to order in the room? I've done that. I've had VIP people and they wanted something creative. And I would wheel a slicer in there and slice their whatever meat they want and make the sandwich right in front of them, like a sub shop. There's different things you can do to take it to the next level. I think it's all about interaction nowadays. And you got your functions where it's your meat and potatoes. You put out the buffet, you put the plate out in front of them. But when we have functions where it requires interaction, I think that's where we can shine. And what are we going to do different?